Good morning. Happy New Year. All right, so I'm excited to learn more about the development that's proposed. Anyone that wants to spend tens of millions of dollars in Fountain Hills, I think we want to have an open ear. The development along Shea Boulevard is obviously one that's mostly empty. There at the target Four Peaks Plaza. This is, I guess, is going to be looking at the section that's furthest to the west on Shea Boulevard. The section that, you remember, A&W Root Beer, KFC, that closed about 10 years ago. That section, and then most everything behind it and up to the corner. So it does not include the target itself and buildings to the east. So that's what I understand, and I understand that we need something to go in there that's going to be viable. And I appreciate developers and investors that want to put a lot of money into our community to make it better and definitely do a world-class quality resort. So without further ado, Sandor Development, in collaboration with the renowned Whitney Morris Spa, PLC will unveil their plan here and take some questions, and then I'm sure we can work out some details should the town council and others wish to have it move forward as a viable plan to consider for the future of our community along the Shea corridor. So without further ado, welcome our guest speakers today.
I guess it's speaker, not speakers. I'm trying to get the rest of them up on the table, but they don't want to just stand here and listen to me. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Betsy, for allowing us this forum. The last time I had an opportunity to make this presentation was in front of the Planning Commission. So this seems like a much more friendly venue. So I appreciate that. This is something that we've been working on, and I say we because I'm fortunate enough to represent Sandor Development. Thank you. I was just killing time. Sandor has been the owner of this center for a good number of years, and it's no surprise, and we'll go through this in the presentation, as to what Sandor has been facing as the owner of this shopping center and what their options are. And they own everything but the Target building. The Target building is owned by Target, so the challenge has been to work around that ownership to keep Target in place, to make sure that Target is getting the number of customers that they anticipate, but also having to work with the restrictions that Target has placed on the center that Sandor inherited. Because there are certain uses that even if we wanted to bring them, we can't bring them because of the land use restrictions. So when you look at, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, but I'm a land use and zoning attorney, so I've often been asked, especially in the last 5-6 years, bringing apartment communities into a mixed-use setting. How do you do that? Well, every time you bring apartments into a community, regardless of the community, there are a series of questions that come up. And it's generally traffic, it is views, it is privacy. And this site is actually incredibly unique in that we have great access without going through a neighborhood, so we're not worried about traffic. And frankly, it's less traffic overall than the commercial that it's already designated when you bring residential into it. Secondly, in terms of views, one of the things that's been a detriment to the shopping center is that it's in a hole, more or less. It is below the grade of Shea. So there's a significant drop-off. So it actually allows us to go up without breaking the horizon. We'll show you some exhibits about that. And then in terms of privacy, one of the things, understandably, that people are concerned about when you build multifamily is the idea that you might be looking down into somebody else's home or backyard or invade that privacy. This has such distance that that is not a consideration. And our next door neighbor, you know, the back of this property is industrial. So from a land use standpoint, it works so well. And then you look at your general plan, and I'm going to start walking through this so we can talk about the site itself. You know, as I was mentioning, we're adjacent to Shea, so we've got a signalized intersection just for this site. Again, that doesn't often happen. It's a perfect location. We have the benefit of industrial, which is very quiet industrial because it's largely storage and utility behind us, not a lot of activity. And then we have the retail adjacent to us, which is a great amenity. And what we're seeing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, is we're seeing now that retail has changed seismically over the last 15 years, more and more shopping centers like this are adding residential because it right-sizes the amount of retail, because there's too much retail. And it also brings bodies with wallets to your retail that exists. So this is the site plan. I'm sure you're aware of what the layout is today and how it looks. We've talked a little bit about the vacancy. Anyone who has driven Shea and knows the shopping center knows the vacancy. You can sit down and have tea in the parking lot and not worry about getting hit by anyone most days. And in terms of the retail shopping patterns, we've seen that if you can order it on Amazon, you do, which is why there's been success with services and unique goods, smaller boutiques, things that you can't order online, or things that are specialized, especially the services. So that's where the trend is. We've also seen the demographics and the visibility hurt this shopping center. So when we say hurt the shopping center, what does that look like? How do we quantify that? Well, let's take a look. It is the single worst performing Target in the state of Arizona. It is one of the worst in the Southwest and the nation. But it's owned by Target and they have kept it open. And I think that is a benefit to the town. The fact of having that, not just from a sales tax generation, but just shopping options and keeping that portion of Fountain Hills stocked is an important asset. But when we look at the rest of the users who exist within the site or who have been there historically, none of them have been successful. And this quantifies it pretty well. You see, it's 119th out of 127. It's 20 out of 21. It's 77 out of 80. It's 31 out of 31. These are not high-performing stores. They need a catalyst. I mentioned the use restrictions. That is also a concern because this property owner, who fortunately is a local property owner, in terms of their portfolio, they own shopping centers all over the country. But they happen to be local. They know this site. They know the valley. They understand the shopping patterns, and they're able to visit this site on a regular basis. So this isn't something that's just remotely owned that they're trying to fix in another state. But the restrictions they have on them are listed here. I mentioned storage, warehouse, operation, assembly, and manufacturing prohibited. And we pointed that one out because there was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission of, get rid of it all. Maybe what should have happened on this is this should be an industrial employment site. That would be great, but it's not allowed. And that would also take an assemblage of property that probably isn't very realistic. But you can see there are other restrictions on this site that have made the redevelopment very difficult. We talked about the visibility. The retailers in this room understand the two things that get customers in the door are visibility and good signage. And this site has neither. It's very difficult for somebody who's not familiar with the site to drive by and understand what's offered within the shopping center. Especially because notice the speeds may not follow the posted speed limit on a lot of these roads, especially Shea. The other thing that helps us tremendously, and that I have not had in a single zoning case where we've done something similar, is a general plan designation that basically says, please do what you're doing. The application that we have filed for this redevelopment is fully supported by the general plan that the town has adopted, which is why we're fortunate to have staff support for this application as well. But it is crystal clear, this is the type of redevelopment that's really implied by your general plan for this specific site. And this is some of that language that comes from something near and dear to your heart, I'm sure, and something Betsy and the town worked on, which is the Community Economic Development Plan. And this is not a stale plan that was on a shelf for 10 years. This was something that's been adopted within the last 6 months. So it's fresh, and it talks specifically about this site and the options for this site. So in terms of what Sandor is applying for, they are literally following the town's rules and the town's suggestion of what should happen to the shopping center. And I mentioned that my office has been doing this type of work for 25 years. Within the last 5 years, this type of redevelopment has really dominated the work that we do. You know, just locally, we've worked on, for those who know, Papago Plaza in Scottsdale. It's McDowell and Scottsdale Road, across from what used to be Los Arcos, now Sky Sun. It was a massive retail strip center, didn't have an anchor, and was struggling for years. We came in, did a very similar plan, brought an apartment community so you had residential, right-sized the retail. We're now bringing a Sprouts Market to that site, some restaurants, some service, and it's working because there's new life. We're doing the same thing at Scottsdale Road and Thunderbird, across from the air park. That's East Thunderbird Square. It's a lot of retail. And they had so much vacant retail, Impact Church went in because they couldn't find a traditional retailer to take a building that big. Now Impact Church will ultimately move, and there will be a residential community that goes in there. But it's that type of redevelopment that we're seeing because the retail shapes and sizes have changed. So, brings us to this 6.7 acres. You're all familiar with it. This shows you the assemblage of land that Sandor put together because they didn't control all of that 6.7. They actually purchased an additional pad building that was at one point going to be a bank, and have combined the land and moved tenants out and tried to move tenants to the other side of the shopping center so that they could create this opportunity. And the opportunity would be accessed directly off of Technology Drive. This shows the change in the building envelope, what we've superimposed there, and it's sort of difficult to see from plan view, but we'll give you some better images. It is what's known as a wrap development, because nobody wants to look at more parking. You know, one of the ideas of this was to get rid of those large asphalt parking fields. So all of the parking is enclosed. It's in its own structure, and it's wrapped by the building itself. So when you drive by or when you view this, you don't see any parking. There's a private entrance for the cars. They're able to drive up to their level and walk out from their parking level to the level that they live on. It's a very nice form of living. It's an apartment I would have loved to have lived in, and it's not what I lived in. So this gives you the overall site. It's a 4-story building. It's 316 units. This gives you some of the specifics of the open space. It's highly amenitized. You know, the truth is, apartments today aren't the apartments of 20 years ago. They are resort living. You have to have a pool, you have to have cabanas, you have to have pet areas, you have to, you know, one of the things that we're doing here that's a little bit of innovative is having co-officing space, so that the tenants, if they're working from home, or if they have the ability to work from home, they can go into the clubhouse and there'll be areas to work, good Wi-Fi, another place to work during the day. So a different setting. The entire structure will be Wi-Fi friendly, so you'll be able to work by the pool. That's the type of thing that has become standard, but it's a standard of living and it's an opportunity that may not exist in huge quantities. And we know that because we've looked at the vacancy rates in Fountain Hills. There aren't a tremendous amount of options. And then we've also taken the trouble to go meet with employers, whether it's the school district or others, and talk about what the employees are looking for. Fortunately for us, when we met with the school district, the superintendent shared with us that they had actually done a survey completely unrelated to this because they're struggling to find employees from Fountain Hills, and one of the concerns is, where do you live? So offering a place to live that's proximate to where you work is tremendous for business, as you all know. The inspiration for this and the design comes from the Scottsdale waterfront. For any of those of you who shop at the Fashion Square, you know this would be the portion closer to Olive and Ivy on the Nordstrom side. There's a very successful apartment community known as the Scottsdale Waterfront. It was built by Alliance. It was a project that I worked on. And so the architects in this instance were, we like to say, inspired, because it sounds so much better than copied, their design. And this is the conceptual rendering for the site. This is the connection to Target and the rest of the stores. So the whole point of this, if you're going to go to this effort, if you're Sandor and you're willing to spend tens of millions of dollars on making this happen, the whole impetus is to make sure the rest of your shopping center benefits from it. So those pedestrian connections, having the ability to easily walk out your front door and go shopping is not only a sales pitch to get people into that building, but it's also a tremendous benefit to the retailers. So it's a double win. You're able to explain to your retail tenants, we're going to deliver folks who can spend money at your front door. And when they move in, we're going to explain to them, this is how you walk out, you turn right, and you're going to be in front of the stores. And for the tenants, it's easy to say to them, you can wake up, go grab breakfast, you can go shopping. You know, we've got areas where there's opportunity to stay on site all day. We talked about this a little bit already. You know, there is no such thing as a downscale new build in the apartment community, because what you're building has to be A-level. So these are some of the amenities that we can anticipate. And I think I touched on a lot of these. We talk about the challenges of the site. You know, we're below grade, 8 feet at the roadway, and that's a significant difference. For a shopping center to not have visibility is really a death knell. This gives a line of sight, because one of the concerns when we met with the neighborhood immediately across Shea, Trevino, and Monterey, those areas, they wanted to make sure these were not units that were looking in to their homes or able to see into their backyards, but more importantly, they wanted to make sure that their view line, if they had a mountain view, if they had a view of the horizon, they wanted to make sure it wasn't impacted. And fortunately, we were able to show them, again, through these drawings and through exhibits like this. We literally, with permission, asked to stand in their driveway at their front door so that we could take pictures and photo impose at the right scale exactly what was being built. So this gives that sense of what it would look like at completion. Again, we went a little bit higher up to make sure, another concern is nobody wants to be looking at HVAC units. Nobody wants to look at the mechanical on top of the building. So we needed to make sure that our designs passed that test. And we're fortunately, even with the topography, the design accounts for that. But again, we're also not hiding any mountain views. Height is always an issue in Fountain Hills, and certainly anywhere you build a community like this. So one of the things that we wanted to be able to illustrate was, how does this compare to the existing Target building? And we've asked for additional height, but what was that height for? So you can see our roof line is within 3 feet, 4 feet of the existing Target peak. But anything above that, the additional height that we've asked for is for a parapet, basically to screen any mechanical so that nobody higher up, and this is a taller parapet than we would typically ask for, but that's because we have homes above us. That's the rationale for the height. We wanted to make sure all of that was screened. You know, probably the biggest number and the most significant number here is the 680. If you look at the existing zoning and you look at what's proposed, we are actually losing vehicle trips at this intersection. 680 less trips, which is tremendous in a zoning case, because most of the time we're talking about adding trips when we do something like this. So the fact that we could show empirically it's actually less traffic. But I have to say, neighbors in Fountain Hills are smart, because at the neighborhood meeting, one of the neighbors came up to me who was not particularly impressed and said, your numbers would make sense if you had people shopping in your retail center, but you're not really losing trips. It's going to be more traffic because nobody's there. And we're fine with nobody being in your shopping center. We kind of like it that way. Quiet is good. And while I understand that, from their perspective, it's not good for the town. It's not good for the property owner, and it's not good for Target, because the concern, both for Sandor and I think for the town, is that Target will wake up and say, why are we keeping our doors open? So this gives them that impetus. And working with Target has been a challenge. They are a very large organization, and asking them for change is difficult. And convincing them that this was good for them, although it seems like a natural, is not easy for a retailer who's not based here, and they covet their parking. And so their concern was, we don't want your folks parking in our spaces. We're not sure how this will impact our visibility. And if they can't see us already, so now if they can't see us from the roadway as they're going north, because we're blocked by an apartment community, why would we approve this? So part of this application also updates the signage within the shopping center. This just shows the level of service remains the same or gets better. So the sign portion of this is a little bit more specific. It's part of the same application as we're asking to do more modern signage, and also take the signage essentially away from the trees and out of the bushes so that you can see what's within the shopping center. This is sort of like our Where's Waldo sign. There's a sign there somewhere, trust me. There's a sign in this picture. You just can't see it. So the existing monument sign is a little bit outset. You can see we're just moving it closer to the roadway so it's visible from a little bit more distance. And we're also changing the lighting. We're actually making the lighting less obtrusive because of the dark skies, but we're making the sign package larger. So we'll have 2 new sign packages. One of the issues was also moving the signs away from the new apartment community. So this gives you a photo simulation of the proposed signage. Again, this would not be ideal if you were building it new, but it's better than what exists. And we're doing the halo illuminated, so it's just illuminating the back of the sign packages rather than having the internally illuminated lighting, because that's important to the town, and frankly, it looks better. It's a cleaner look. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate your time this morning, your efforts for not giving up on our town. For those of us who are in support of the project, we thank you for still participating. I do want to share with you, a lot of you might not know the board of directors process when they endorse a project. So I do feel like it's important to share that with you. We do have a letter of support process on our website, and you can find it under member services. You go down, letter of support, it explains it clearly. When a project or a member would like to have an endorsement from the Chamber of Commerce or a letter of support, they fill out the application. We invite them to the board of director meeting and they present. After they present, we thank them and they leave, and the board of directors discuss at length. Our board of directors are all listed on our website at fhchamber.com, all with a bio. You will find that they are true stakeholders of this community. They are nonprofit leaders, they are business owners, they are parents, they are residents for decades, they are true stakeholders of this community. And they discussed and they decided to endorse this project. And I do think that's really important because it's not given lightly. And I do want to share with you the Board of Directors letter of support really quick because it's nowhere for you to see anywhere else, so I do want to share that with you. Dated October 13th. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'm writing to express my wholehearted support for the revitalization and development project at the Four Peaks Plaza. Strongly encourage you to consider the many benefits it would bring to our community. One aspect of this project that stands out as particularly thoughtful and considerate is its careful attention to the line of sight for the closest residential area, which I'm sure that you saw was over 500 feet away. It is evident that the project designers have gone to great lengths to ensure that the development does not restrict the views of the residents. This shows a commendable level of respect for the existing community and the preservation of the natural beauty that surrounds us. Furthermore, the project's commitment to providing less traffic at full capacity residential than the current full capacity commercial use is an admirable feat. This demonstrates the commitment to minimizing disruptions to the community and aligns with the vision of a more harmonious, less congested town. The decision to limit the development to only 4 stories tall is another praiseworthy element of this project. In a time when many redevelopment projects tend to reach heights of 6 to 11 stories, especially along major thoroughfares like Shea Boulevard. This project exhibits a commendable sense of scale that is in line with our town's character and aesthetics. The support of the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for this project is significant. Their endorsement emphasizes the positive impact it will have on our local economy and business community. The revitalization of the shopping plaza is likely to attract new businesses and provide additional residential opportunities to our workforce, which will undoubtedly contribute to the continued growth and success of our town. In addition to the residential development, the approval of the appropriate signage is a critical aspect that should not be overlooked. Ensuring the visibility and recognition of the plaza is vital for its success, and I encourage you to take this into account during the decision-making process. In conclusion, I urge you to consider this project as an example of smart, controlled residential growth that our town needs. With the full support of the Board of Directors of the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce, I hope that you will also see the immense value that this project holds for our community and grant it the necessary approvals to move forward. I do want to direct your attention to your resource guide in front of you. Tammy Bell, our Vice President, spent no time at all putting this together, this 30-page guide for you. In this resource guide, the very first page demonstrates our mission of the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce, and you can read it on your own, but the very first 3 words are providing effective advocacy. And that's one thing that our members of the Chamber of Commerce might not realize is such a huge part of what we do for our local business economy, and that's what this is. That's what this effort is. It's a large part of what we do with the Chamber is advocate for you, our business community, for projects that we deem important for your growth. And so with that, I do want to encourage you to share with us your thoughts, because as our chamber members, as our business community or residents, we want to hear from you. And so on your program, there's a QR code right in the center, and it has, not on the resource guide, I'm sorry, Tammy showed, thank you. On the actual program for this morning, there's a QR code. And if you take out your phones, turn on your camera, I'm not trying to be condescending, I just know some people don't do QR codes. So take out your phones, turn on your camera, hover over it, and press on the link. It's one simple question: do you support this project or not? And the reason I would like to hear from you is that the Board of Directors and the Chamber of Commerce, we do not speak from speculation, we do not speak from opinion, we speak from data, and we speak from fact. And I want to be able to represent you, as well as our Board of Directors, when we speak and advocate for this project on January 17th at the Town Council meeting. So I want to be able to share what all of you think about this project. So please take a moment, and that closes at 8:30. So literally take a moment right now. And it's timed to close at 8:30 because it's those of you who are here who took the time to hear about this project that we want to know what your thoughts are. So with that, I'm going to invite our sponsors up real quick while you guys are doing your survey. Misty from the Beauty Box Boutique, or your representative, Denise from Morningstar, Jack from Mindax, Suzanne from Remax, and Sandy from All About You. Please run on up here for our sponsor message and give them a round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today as I explore with you the wonderful fashion and timeless fashion at Beauty Box Boutique. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Steinbrook, and I am a female entrepreneur and business coach with my husband at the Elliott Group. We work with business owners, sales professionals, and entrepreneurs all over the country to effectively provide top-notch service for their customers, also to teach them how to be relational instead of transactional. That will help them grow and scale their business. It is an honor to stand before you as the head of promotions at Beauty Box Boutique. From the young and trendy to the sophisticated and elegant, there is something for everyone at Beauty Box Boutique. The dedicated staff are always ready to offer fashion advice. Misty and her staff are absolutely wonderful. They will help guide you through the latest trends and help you spice up your wardrobe to help reflect your unique personality. We are your destination location here in Fountain Hills to service you for your timeless fashion. I encourage you all to visit Beauty Box Boutique and explore the amazing collections, just as I have on, that await you. Rediscover the joy of dressing up or dressing down, and embrace your personal style with confidence and grace. Thank you very much.
Good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. I think this is going to be a really fantastic year, 2024. It's going to be great for our fantastic chamber, our wonderful community, and thank you very much for the amazing holiday lighting. Really, I think it's also going to be an amazing year for the real estate community and this project, which I am very much in favor of, just saying. So have a great day, everyone. And by the way, I am wearing some of Beauty Box Boutique. Just saying. Have a great day, everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. I am Sandy Dyke. I'm the Director of Operations for All About You Placement and Senior Resources. I am honored to be part of this amazing team. Our team has a combined experience of over 70 years in the senior care industry, and we are family owned and operated. We are not an online service. Our team digs into the community with our families to ensure that they have all of the options presented to them that they can consider to think about for their loved one. That includes not just placement into the community settings or care home settings, but also connecting them for veterans resources and veteran benefits, looking at Medicaid considerations if they are in need of that, and also in-home, whether that be hospice, home care, home health. We help the families navigate all of those arenas, and the big thing is we do this at no cost to our families. And I know people say you get nothing for free. Honestly, I will put something in front of me. We are completely no cost to our families. And so, as unique as everybody in this room is, so are our families and clients that we work with. No one property, no one option is identical and the same for another person. So if you know of somebody who's struggling, who is not leading their best life possible, aging doesn't mean that you can't have a quality of life, because you darn well can. Let us know, and we would love to chat with them. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Denise Boger with Morningstar Senior Living, Director of Community Relations. I'd like to thank all of you here today. We are very proud to be a part of this community. Most of our referrals for our residents come from the community. That says a lot about you. I see a lot of faces in here that have actually referred people to us, and we thank you for that. We're looking forward to a partnership with all of you, and being there for Fountain Hills is a big part of what we do. So if you know of anybody that's looking for assisted living or memory care, we'd love to be your go-to community. Please feel free to give me a call, and we have a chili cook-off. It's the second annual chili cook-off. Mountain View Kitchen's a part of that competition, and we'd love to see all of you January 20th, which is a Saturday coming up from 2 to 4. All right, thank you all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jack Seaman with Mendak Gold and Silver here in Fountain Hills, celebrating our 3rd year in business. What we do is we buy and sell physical gold and silver coins, bars, rare coins, sterling flatware, and gold jewelry. And the reason you want to do business with us is we're a lot closer than Scottsdale, Phoenix, or Mesa, and our prices are a lot better than our competition in those areas. So if you or a loved one has items maybe you've inherited or came out of a bank vault that you want to get appraised for free and possibly sell, we would love to help you with that. Also, the why of our business is selling gold and silver. We truly believe in its role in protecting your wealth and hedging against inflation. Why the hell would you want to own some gold and silver? Well, in a general sense, everything that you need to live has gone up 30% in cost in the last 3 years. Gold and silver maintain their purchasing power and help you protect your dollars. And if you want to talk more about that, stop in and see me. I'm there most days, and I'd love to have a chat with you about it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much to our sponsors. Their efforts and being a part of our breakfast and sponsoring our breakfast enables our Chamber of Commerce to provide the breakfast free, complimentary to our new members. So we thank all of our sponsors, and we appreciate you very much. And so we really want to thank Jason, Stephanie, Justin, and Andrew for being here today. We appreciate all of you. Sorry that it's been a little bit of a fight so far, but hopefully you got some more fight in you, because January 17th, we welcome you to join us at the Town Council meeting. Join us in advocating for a project that we heard even from P&Z comes around once every 2 to 3 generations. And as you all know, I've lived here in Fountain Hills since 1978. And in 23 years, we've not allowed our community to grow in our census numbers. This is our chance to allow us to grow to our potential. Allow us to grow to our potential. And with that, I encourage you to network. I encourage you to join us at the Chamber of Commerce really soon for some education, and have an amazing day.